You're good to go. Me too. Okay, cool.
All right, we're live.
All right.
You're gonna do the intro?
Yeah. So we have a very, very special guest today. He's one of the most influential people in crypto. He's a crypto thought leader, a serial entrepreneur, and an investor. And then, in addition to authoring several books on crypto, he's also the founder and CEO of HEX. Excuse me. My guest is Richard Hart. Richard, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to meet you. And who are you, good sir?
Shahan. So
All right, we're live.
awesome.
I think you
So
got. I think you got to mute your
yeah.
video feed of the stream.
A very, very special guest today. Gotcha.
It's okay.
That works. So cool. So Richard, I guess to get started, most people know you, but for those that don't, you have an extremely accomplished entrepreneurial background. So I want to get a sense of what you did before Hex, what attracted you to the crypto space, and then why you started Hex after your entry into the space.
Sure. So I started my first business out of my front yard. I'll start even earlier than that. My dad was a super hard worker, and he delivered newspapers at night, and we did the home delivery at first, where you like flip papers into people's yards.
Wow.
And then I was a kid, wearing diapers back then. And then the next thing that we did was deliver newspapers to stores, and then you're carrying big stacks of newspapers. And then he had an air conditioning business as well, so he would work all night delivering newspapers, and then all day fixing air conditioners. And I worked with him doing that for a long time. And then one day I had a medical bill I had to pay. I didn't have money to pay it, so I started selling everything I had. I was about 18 at the time, I think. And a lot of what I had was car stereo equipment. And I noticed that the money I was getting for the car stereo equipment that I was selling was about the same price I paid for it, but I'd used it for 2 years. So I was like, oh, that's a good idea for business. Why don't I advertise stuff I don't have yet, but I can get a good deal on? And then, people can give me half the money, and I'll go get the thing, and we'll meet up, and I'll give them the stuff, and they'll give me the rest of the money. And I did that until I had enough money for inventory, and then I didn't have to drive around all day back and forth. And then, if you're selling people stuff that needs to be installed in the car to use it, well, you might as well install it for them too. And then at some point, once the driveway was all full of cars all day and all night, I was like, all right, I guess, Pops wasn't so happy with that. So he's, said, you got to get a store. So I rented a little warehouse and, had a girlfriend at the time. Pops didn't like me messing around the house. So ended up kind of moving into the warehouse, yeah. And then hired my friends, and I was real lucky. All my friends were real smart because I went to the super smart kid school. I was just barely got into it. I was like the last guy to get into the super smart school. And one of my buddies started a shopping cart software business. Started selling that, and then did search engine optimization, and then had a client that did mortgages. So then we set up a bunch of sites for him and started generating leads for him. And then started my own mortgage company and had a bunch of internet marketing stuff. Right? Anything we could sell on the internet, we did. Miracle cleaners, cash advance loans, foreclosure bailouts, mortgages. Grew up to about 150 people. And then just retired in 2003. Moved down to Panama. Got the crap robbed out of me, as happens to many the gringo.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then started traveling the world. Did it's in Panama like 2 years. I think I did half a year in Argentina. Then I started traveling Australia, Europe. Lived in a hotel for about 5 years, just traveling the whole world.
Wow.
And then
Do you have a favorite spot that you went to?
I like places where they speak English.
Makes
So
it easy.
And anywhere that I can speak English and have a good conversation with people, I'm pretty happy. So Australia's nice, Canada's nice. So, when I was doing my travels, I was addicted to video games, and I'd read Reddit all the time. So it was like Reddit and video games. And back then, Reddit was, a lot more technical than it is now. And I saw this guy that sold his house to buy this new fake money for $1. It just became $1. It was really exciting. For him, I thought it was a little silly. And then since I had a really strong video card and had an ATI 5970, which had two GPUs on a single card, I played games all the time. I discovered that you could just, when you're not gaming, double click an exe, the bitcoin.exe, and then every once in a while 50 Bitcoin will go into your computer. And so I mined full 50 Bitcoin block reward, or 50 Bitcoin block rewards, a few of those,
Insane, yeah.
But back then it wasn't that insane. It was $25 because it was only 50 cents a coin, right? So it sounds awesome now that it's like, 7,000 today, 8,000
Yeah, but you had the
yesterday.
foresight to get in that time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then, I was able to buy in heavy when the Silk Road article came out, like everyone else did when the Wired article came out. And that was the peak at 30, and then it went down to a penny. Held it and just, held it for a very, very, very long time. So in crypto, it doesn't matter when you get in, it matters how long you held. So a lot of people got in early. I mean, think about it. Every 10 minutes, somebody got 50 Bitcoin for 4 years. So that's a lot of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Now, people think that Bitcoin is like this trustless system that gets rid of counterparties. Kinda. But if you're not a miner, you have a miner as a counterparty first, because every single Bitcoin that exists went through the hands of a miner, period. So people don't understand that. Back when I got in, Bitcoin was free. You could double click an exe and get some. Now, you can double click all the EXEs you want. You can't get free Bitcoin unless you find some nice person that's nice enough to work really, really hard to try and give you some free something, which is we'll get into later.
That's great. Yeah, no, I love that background, and I wish I got in that early. I got in around end of 2016. I've loved this space. I've seen this, I feel like in this short amount of time, like the worst in people, the best in people. It's definitely a different space. Speaking of gaming, I know you're a gamer. It looks like it's a game.
Quit it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I don't
I was
drink,
gonna say,
I don't smoke, I don't drink coffee, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke.
nothing.
I don't play games. Work is my game.
Gotcha.
So,
I was gonna say, because the new Tesla Cybertruck looks like out of a Halo. What do
Low
you think about
pixelation.
that truck?
It looks like the warthog. So it is atrociously ugly. It is really, truly, truly ugly. However,
I disagree, but I would love to hear why.
however,
Uh-huh.
yes, it will smoke a Porsche 911 in the 3-engine model. Yes, you can hit it with a sledgehammer. Yes, it's made of stainless steel. And the only other vehicle that's ever been made of stainless steel has been the DeLorean. And if you look around at the DeLoreans, because stainless steel just doesn't care about the elements at all, it's the premier, basically like most expensive metal you can get. It's also non-metallic or non-magnetic, oddly enough, so you can't pick it up with a magnet. If you go see old DeLoreans on the road, their bodies are perfect. Everything else is turned to absolute rubbish. Like, interiors are garbage, the bottoms are rusted out of them, and it came with like such a pitiful amount of horsepower. And stainless steel is actually heavy. It's not aluminum, it's not carbon fiber composite. It's heavy stuff. So I liked it when they hit it with a sledgehammer. I like that they could drive this awesome Mad Max looking RV in the back, and that Mad Max looking RV is awesome looking, way cooler looking than the truck.
It is,
and it's already charging when you drive it in there.
Right.
Maybe he plugged it in, but I mean, it didn't take but a second. And the ramp to drive it up is in the back of the truck already. And then it also has a air compressor built in, and it's got 110 to 220 volt outlets built into it, which, being like I used to be a contractor, that would be awesome, right? You could use air tools. You could use, you don't got to charge your batteries. You got to run an air tube. And then I'm in the price point, like 39 grand base model. And that's without any kind of rebates or anything, because they don't have any more rebates left because they used them all. Like, there's a max per manufacturer that you can get rebates in the States. So I think it's a very, very, very put function before form, because that is a goddamn ugly. Like, if you gave a kid a pencil and like a piece of paper, and you said, like, draw a truck, that's what you draw. You draw that, right? maybe it'll catch on. Maybe our taste will change, and the vehicles
It's
that we saw
weird.
from the first RoboCop will,
Yeah. Yeah, I just think what I like about him is, or what I like about any artist, I guess you can call the artist whoever designed that, but it's just like if it's original and it's unique and it's weird, like no one's talking about the 2020 Toyota Camry. They're talking about this car, right? And it's self-driving, like you said. It has all these different features. I think at 40K, you can't touch that. If you
no.
don't like the look, that's fine. But I like it. I think it looks weird and awesome and
I
different.
think it looks awesome from a couple angles. Like from the above, top right looks good. Like from the back, it looks okay. It's
Mm.
just from that side. The thing that kills me about the shape is it just feels to me like the people in the back are having their heads chopped off. It just feels to me like there's no way that the guy in the front could be comfortable, and then the triangle comes down a lot, and then the guy in the back could be comfortable too. That's the part that kills me.
Yeah, I
Or
feel
maybe
for you
you
'cause
know
I had
what?
a
Maybe if the
Mustang.
windows go down, maybe it looks
Yeah,
better.
right.
Because we
I had
saw
a
that with some
Mustang.
dark ass tint.
Right. Sorry, there's a little delay. I was saying all the Mustangs I had two of them, but they have that same slant in the back, and it's a terrible ride for anyone in the back seat.
Yeah, the C
So
pillar
switching,
cuts their head off.
yeah,
So you have an A
exactly.
pillar, a B pillar, and a C pillar. And the A pillar is the one that you hit your head on in an accident in the front, and then the B pillar is the one that in between the front and the rear door, and the C pillar is all the way in the back.
Hmm. So switching gears a bit, given that you're an entrepreneur, and I think why I really like following you and what you've done in the space and your voice in the space is because you've ran actual successful businesses before this, and you're not just someone printing a new token that's saying they're now an entrepreneur, that's a fake entrepreneur that's never done this before, that's capitalizing on this insane run up. So I wanted to ask you, for new entrepreneurs entering this space, outside of what you're doing with Hex,
Hmm.
are there areas or gaps in the industry that you think new entrepreneurs should address, things that, the crypto community could really benefit from at this time?
Yeah, sure. It would be nice to have some place to refer stupid people to give them customer service.
Hmm.
But the issue is, you'd have to be licensed and bonded and insured and really watch your reps because you're dealing with something that the rep says, yeah, just send me your private keys, and then tells the guy his email address, and then now the guy lost all his money, and your rep's got all the money, right? And so
Hmm.
it's like, how do you prevent your reps from doing crap like that? You gotta, it's like, I guess banks have found a way, right? But it's easier to claw money back in the banking system than it is in the crypto system. So I mean, it still would be nice. You could start when people called in. You could say, recording: "Do not ever give anyone your private keys ever, including whoever answers his phone. Serious." And then like spell this random code to prove that you just heard that last message, right?
Hmm.
Something along those lines. And then you could give them customer service, and then obviously they have to pay for it because it's hard to monetize, right? And then
Hmm.
what else would be great? So I think a crypto like telephone line would be good.
Hmm.
Um, See, here's what sucks, right? There's things I want to do to make Hex even more amazing,
Hmm.
but there's this Howey test, and the Howey test says that if you give money to a common pool with the expectation of profits solely from the work of others, then it might be a security.
Right.
And securities can't list on crypto exchanges because they're not licensed broker dealers. So, if you want to make a cryptocurrency and you want to be on exchanges, you need to not be a security. And if you want to not be a security, you got to, not hit some of those legs, right? On that test, on the Howey test. So I'm very, 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 very strict about not promising you anything at all
Hmm.
because I don't want you to have the expectation of profit from work from others, particularly this other.
Right.
So I will say that if someone were starting a cryptocurrency and they wanted to onboard a lot of people, boy, it would be neat to have a call center where people could call in for customer support. If you get into Bitcoin, there ain't nobody to call to help you. You're on your own. You're screwed if it don't work out, right? Even if you would pay $20 an hour for someone to help you, or maybe 30, right? let's call it 40. So you charge $40 an hour to support somebody. You pay your rep 20, 25, and then, you got affiliate deals with other people and you send business certain places and you're making $15 an hour profit on the deal. So maybe, maybe your technical profit after all your side deals is maybe like $30 an hour or something like that per rep. That ain't bad, get an office, put 20 reps in there, make $6,000 an hour, whatever.
Mm.
That ain't that bad, right? So
And it's a big need. Yeah, there's definitely a need there because user experience is one of the biggest problems.
I might have done that math around 30 times 20 is 600 an hour, not $6,000. Still ain't that bad. So by the way, I'm extremely tired. Like, I can tell when I'm tired because I keep having to clear my throat and like my voice ain't working right. It's like crackling out, like I'm losing my voice, not from speaking, but just from being tired.
Yeah.
My schedule's weird because all I do is wake up, work until sleep time. Wake up, work, and these live streams actually take a fair amount of energy for some reason. So I would like to see a call center, onboarding new users and then giving them customer support. That'd be awesome. I've never seen that done in crypto yet. I think it would definitely revolutionize the space. What else? Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, there's a lot of things have already kind of been done, and they just haven't worked, right? That's the only good idea I got. That's the only good idea that I got that I can think of off the top of my head that is a niche I see not being filled. Because I mean, there's like everything is wrong with crypto. Everything's wrong with it, right? Everything's hard. All the UI sucks. All the UX sucks. That stands for user interface and user experience. Like everything can be better, right? But I don't want to list you everything. So that's the only thing I can think of that's like a unique idea that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, I think that's a good tangible example of something to address in the space. Yeah, because there's so many other projects that are just garbage. Speaking of that, you had a confrontation with Craig Wright in Malta, and we were kind of I texted you. That was hilarious. You absolutely owned him. I was just wondering, was there anything after that? Did anything after that confrontation happen? Maybe in the hallways?
Well, I mean, everyone was high-fiving me and hugging me and stuff in the audience. So that was cool because I guess other people feel the way I do. I mean, when he said that, he wrote the white paper and people in the audience, some guy in the audience was just like, bullshit, right? So it's, I don't like frauds and I don't like net negative things. So when I see people lying about their identities for some type of profit, it bothers me. So I just, asked him some very simple questions and he got very angry and ran away when the music started playing. So maybe I'll get the opportunity to ask him more good questions in the future. But there's a good chance he'll remember me and not want to answer any more questions because I ask good ones. And you know what cockroaches don't like? They don't like light. So when you shine light on them, they scurry away.
Right. Did you know him before that, or was that the first time you guys met?
I mean, I know of him because he's in the media saying silly things and doing silly things. I don't, I guess I know more about him than many because I've done my research. So I know that he collected a bunch of degrees in a college in the middle of nowhere in Australia. And collecting degrees is not something any actual smart person enjoys or does. They're busy building stuff or coming up with new ideas. Collecting silly degrees, it's not worth their time. Get a D on a statistics, it's like, that's not that good. If you're going to collect silly degrees, try not to get a D in one of the important courses, right? He's had to retract, a lot of his papers that people have just proven out are either straight up copied from other people or wrong. So like his selfish mining paper was just wrong. He had negative gamma in there, and gamma is a difference, and you can never have a negative difference. So just stupid, like wrong, doesn't understand like the independent, like if you mine a block, if there's an independence between when blocks are found, right? And if someone else found a block while you're looking for a block, them finding a block has absolutely no influence on the time it will take for you to find your block. They're totally, those events are totally statistically isolated. There's no causality between them. So, if you start to think that, oh, someone else found a block, so now it's harder for me to find one because they found one, you just don't understand probability. His own mother says that he was a liar, and this archive.is, newspaper article that you can link to. It's just some people, they lie when the truth would better fit, and then they get into the habit and they dig the hole, and then it's easier to keep digging than to call it quits, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this
Yeah,
isn't
he's
the first
gone
time.
too far. He doesn't have an out now. He's gone way too far. He's doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down.
Right.
So it's like there's no way to save face at this point.
And the funny thing is, like, he doesn't have to, because people are so stupid. People are so stupid. They can't. It's tragic that no matter what the scam is, some percentage of the population will fall for it, and it doesn't matter how stupid it is. Literally, the dumbest thing you could possibly think of, someone is going to fall for it.
Right.
It's sad.
So
let me add this.
yeah.
The solution to scammers isn't to warn people about scammers. The solution to scammers is to get their money out of their hands into something better so they don't have any left for the scammer. That's the solution. Because if you do that, then you've got a marketing budget, and with your marketing budget, you can get your message in front of them to outcompete the scammer. If you don't have your message in front of them and you're not advertising the same place as the scammer is going to get their money. Period. The only way to fight scams is with better products that outcompete them for eyeballs, outcompete them for mind share, and outcompete them for dollars. Every law enforcement action that's taken against scammers, for the most part, doesn't get people's money back. And the people need their money back, or to have never given it in the first place. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And if you can get better projects in front of these people, it's really the only way, because I've tried the other ways, right? The only other two ways are to warn people. It doesn't work. It's worse. Most people, you're exposing this person's scam idea to more people than would have otherwise seen it, and then they fall for it. So that doesn't work. And then the other thing is that if you try and get enforcement to do more, they just never have enough resources, right? There's just not enough resources in any law enforcement or regulatory agency to really do the job that they wish they could do. And that's unlikely to change. So, harnessing capitalism and putting better projects in front of these people is the only way that I think can scale and actually make a big difference and save a lot of people that are life savings, basically.
Yeah, and a lot of people got burned that I know through some of those scam projects.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another reason that this is obviously true. I and some others said very powerful arguments for why that person is not Satoshi. It didn't work, and everyone got scammed anyway. So do we want to do that same tactic again and just warn people? That doesn't work, right? It's not enough. If it was going to work, it would have worked already. And it has not prevented, when all the ICOs were happening and me and some other people were yelling, hey, these are the dumb business ideas run by the wrong people, launched in the wrong way with the wrong incentives. It's all bad. Market didn't care. Prices went to the moon anyway. Now they're all down 95%. And down 95% is damn near down 100%, right? So
piggybacking off that, Richard, I know that there's a lot of bad projects out there, a lot of bad actors, but there's also some good ones. From your perspective, what should people look at, or what attributes are most important when evaluating a project or an entrepreneur or a blockchain? Is there something that you look at particularly, or maybe there's some red flags that you look at to say, hey, if you see these kind of things, you walk away and there's some indicators there?
Here's the problem with crypto. If a project is terribly stupid scam garbage, it can show you the highest returns you've ever seen. The shittiest, scammiest, most horrible projects
Yeah.
tend to go up the highest. Do they come back down? Yeah. But they go up retarded percentage levels. So I can tell you things that shouldn't pump. So like digital ledger technology shouldn't pump because you can get all the benefits from the digital ledger advancements, right? With a very small amount of economic energy. It's just like an anonymity coin. Oh, you got an anonymity coin. Okay. Well, route your money through the anonymity coin. And then now it's anonymous, and then just cycle it back through. And you could use a very little float and keep cycling it. You don't need a lot of economic energy to use the anonymous function. You don't need a lot of economic energy to use the DLT function. So those things shouldn't pump, right? And traditionally, really, they kind of haven't compared to other stuff. Yeah, I mean, if a project's got no faces or names behind it, I don't know. I mean, we've seen so many scams that did have faces and names on them. I'm not even sure that's a good...
That was their strategy, to show faces,
Yeah.
to show credibility. Yeah.
Right. Things to look out for. I don't know. Like when all of the crypto market went down 95 and 85%, did it really matter which thing you had? Like everything got epically, totally destroyed.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, for me, if you looked at it long term, the way I look at it is how many of these products or how many of these chains or projects actually produced a functioning product.
Right.
And very small amount of them. That should be a huge red flag. That, like, does it actually work? You know, or is there actually proof of people running an application on top of it?
Here's another thing. If when you say, like, you know, Dogecoin went down 95%, Bitcoin went down 85%, that's both pretty damn terrible. But you want to see some nuance in the terrible. So let's do some quick math here. Quick math. You might not get the reference. It's Big Shaq. It's a UK rapper.
Yeah.
So if you have something that's worth $100 and it goes down in value 85%, you got $15 left. If it went down 95%, you'd have $5 left. What would you rather have, 5 or 15?
15.
15 is 300% more. So the difference between a 85 and a 95% drop, they both seem like you lost all your money, but you'd still much rather have 3 times more money by only going down 85% instead of 95%. So I just want to point out the nuance there, that actually there's a pretty big ass difference between 85 and 95, but they're both still tragic and crappy.
Yep, that's a good way to look at it. And I want to ask you about mainstream adoption, but I watched some of your recent interviews, and actually I like your opinion on it, that we're not there yet, and at least in the stage that we are. But what I see now is I was covering like digital media before, like direct to consumer, like when Netflix was arising, all these new media platforms. And the way I was looking at it there, I was like, dude, this is going to disrupt everything. But I was too soon. Like I was maybe 3 or 5 years too soon for it to get to mainstream adoption. And now everything, it seems like, I like watch my cable on YouTube TV, for example.
Yeah, timing's everything.
So yeah,
I mean,
so for your opinion, like when do we get to that Netflix type moment? Do you think we have 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I mean,
when you can afford advertisements. If you can't buy advertisements, you are not going to scale. If your product was so simple that someone could click yes and they have the product, like WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp took over like the whole world and got 2 billion users with 90 people in their company. That's really amazing, right?
Yeah.
But their product was easy. Click yes. Hey, tell your friends. Hey, you want to talk to me on WhatsApp? Click yes. Okay. Click yes again. Click yes again. Oh, three yeses. You're doing it. You're done, right? In crypto, shoot yourself. Like, it's the most complicated thing ever, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So since it's the most complicated thing ever, you ain't getting no virality unless you shove it down somebody's throat. So you need advertisements or you're not going to onboard people, which is why less people accept Bitcoin now than they did 2 years ago. And there's less volume on chain than there was 2 years ago. And the price is lower than it was 2 years ago. But people just can't get it through their head that they're doing a bad job. Listen, guys, if every metric that you can measure is worse, you are doing a bad job. In tech startups, the hockey stick just goes up. You get more users all the time. I'm sure Airbnb has more users now than they've ever had. I'm sure that WhatsApp has more users now than they've ever had. I'm sure that Amazon has more users now than they've ever had. I'm sure that Netflix has more users now than they ever had. I'm sure that Tesla has more users now than they've ever had. But Bitcoin, not. Why? Because you guys suck at marketing. You suck at it. And you're going to continue to suck at it because you have no marketing budget. And the reason you have no marketing budget is because you only incentivize miners. You only give miners new coins. And the miners take those coins and they dump the price to pollute the environment by paying electric companies. Oh, but it's renewable energy. Bullshit. Maybe some of it's renewable energy, but a lot of it's not. And even if it was the most renewable energy in the world, they're still buying it and dumping the damn price. Because all-time high difficulty rates, 3 times, 33% of all-time high price. So what do they do to make up the difference? Sell more coins. So because Bitcoin made that decision early in its life to only reward one type of behavior, mining, it's forever locked. It's not fixable, right? So the devs are all broke. They can't pay their bills. Why? Because the miners get all the money, right? So when the miners get all the money, any other good actor in the space is left starving. And do the miners do any dev? Hell no. They don't do any dev. They don't care. They just get rich. So I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of miners. I like GPU miners. I like CPU miners, but I don't like ASIC miners.
So is there a way that Bitcoin, I'm a bag holder, so I'm asking for me, is there a way that Bitcoin, for example, can have some type of incentive mechanism for development? Because I agree with you, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it can't. You can't fix it because it's literally a tragedy of the commons. So a tragedy of the commons is, here's a common area. Everyone's life would be better if we improved it. Now who's going to pay to improve it? Can someone give some money? We want this to be better. And then it's a tragedy because no one wants to pay for it, right? Because you could pay $1 million to improve the park, but are you getting $1 million of value? It's not worth $1 million to you, right?
Right.
So you need a bunch of people to put money in. And then, so the solution is to use incremental lockups and there was a developer who left Bitcoin and said it was a failed project named Mike Hearn that developed something called Lighthouse, and that was a way that people could commit to time lock their funds, and then if enough funds got time locked, then it would release the funds. And so it's to say, look, if you guys will put in a lot, and you'll put in a lot, and you'll put in a lot, then I'll put in a lot, and then we could do something good together, right? I don't think anything was ever actually successfully funded that way, and I think that in crypto, it's quite rare. Monero will fund some dudes to travel around the world and say nice things about Monero. They'll do a little research, but we're talking about really small numbers here compared to the block reward or even the fees probably. These are very, very small numbers. So the solution is to airdrop. Let me rephrase that. The solution is to give free coins to Bitcoin holders that already have better game theory built into them and already have better incentives for people to do good things in them. So I've already done that, and it's coming out December 2nd at 0000 UTC time. So
I'm excited. I'm going to get mine.
I'm saving it for last because everyone that listens to me has already heard about it a lot. So I'm covering everything else first for those guys.
Right. So to switch gears a little bit, I have to ask you, have you seen The Mandalorian on Disney Plus? You haven't seen it. Okay, so I won't ask.
I'm a Star Trek guy. I'm not a Star Wars guy.
I don't like Star Wars. This is good. It was pretty good.
Okay. Well, I'll watch it because I do like that genre. Now I'm going to alienate some of the viewers here because a lot of you guys like Star Wars. Star Wars sucks. It straight up sucks.
I agree.
If you shoot guns in the future and you can't hit anything with your guns, you suck, right? If your plot involves banging your sister, that shit's too weird. You got to drop that. If if you're throwing weird, random, cute characters like Jar Jar Binks in there, just terrible, right? The worst. And every single episode that comes out is more childish and more stupid. Look, I ain't a kid, man. I want to see a real plot with some real intrigue, with some real interesting crap going on. And that is not happening in that series. It's just not, right? Like, and another thing that's happening in Hollywood is, look, I like all the old actors, the 80-year-old actors they're putting in everything now. You know, I like them. But I liked them even more when they were 40. So, you know, I respect Harrison Ford. He's a fantastic actor. And he's been a fantastic actor for 40 years. And, you know, I'm just not as compelled at seeing, like, extremely wrinkly people as the hero. It's just weird to me, right?
It just doesn't make sense, yeah.
You know, I don't like to see fat strippers, and I don't like to see ancient heroes. It's just me. Call me crazy.
Right. Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with you on the Star Wars. I think it's overdone. This was an interesting take on it. So switching back, President Xi has made a lot of different remarks in terms of China, which is weird because a few months ago he was talking about banning Bitcoin mining. They're just changing their opinions all the time. Seems like this time it's here to stay. They're going to double down on this. I think a state-backed newspaper said something like Bitcoin's the first successful use of blockchain technology. And then I think that, you know, watching the Libra hearings in front of Congress, I think the U.S. is very slow in terms of adopting these new technologies. From your opinion, how is the global landscape going to play out? Because I think the country who backs this, who looks at this as a way to differentiate themselves, is going to do some good for themselves. So how do you see this all playing out?
I think, I don't trust a damn thing out of a news source that has banned and unbanned a thing 50 times. We saw China ban Bitcoin at 3,000. It went to 20,000. Okay. Well, I guess the ban didn't matter that much, right? And so they've banned and unbanned it so many times. They made a GIF of a roller coaster with ban and unban. Because they just do it like a religion. And when the good news came out, you can go check this on t.me/Richard's calls or on my Twitter, you know, http:// why am I spelling that out? I'm so tired. Twitter.com/Richard Hartwin, in case you didn't know how to do your HTTPs in the year 2020. I predicted that they would reban again because I've seen them do it so many damn times. So I said, look, we're going to go up for a while until they ban it again. Now, we didn't go up as much as I would have liked.
Right.
This shit went up. It went up 42% in a day. And then it dropped and did 100% retrace and made new lows over the next 30 days. Really about 28, 29 days. That's crazy. Like, did you expect one single day of China pump off of limit up on their stocks and you know, 42% in a day?
No, not at all.
I don't think that's not representative of what Bitcoin normally does. Like, how many people got wrecked? If you were short, so first of all, you should never, ever, ever trade, okay? But if you're so stupid you can't take my advice, you have to trade, okay, use my referral link, richardhart.win. Okay, good company, great trading, far better than Shitmex. richardhart.win. Go have fun. Okay, EOS, XRP, BTC, ETH, with those as native pairs, so you could hedge your stack and not worry about like a Quanto. Again, I'm not even gonna explain to you what a Quanto derivative is. So, imagine being short on the 50/200 daily moving average death cross, where the death cross goes up 42% that day, destroys the shorts, the technical guys, destroys them. They're all dead now. And the longs are all very happy, and they probably added to their positions at the top. And now we get to go back down and retrace the entire 42% move and some more and liquidate all the longs. You're like, okay, so like longs wrecked, shorts wrecked, and now this is when the game is China. Are they banning or unbanning this week? And is there a Ponzi starting or getting arrested? When that's the game, which it currently is, if you think you're qualified to win that game, you're stupid and you're wrong, right? Unless you're in China and you have news ahead of time, you're going to get your ass chopped up, period.
Right.
Because you could draw all the lines you want, and all the lines you want aren't going to tell you what the China news agency is going to publish that day. You can shove those lines up your ass. So I'm telling you, stop getting chopped up, stop trading. There's a really cool project coming out called HEX, right? You go to pumpamentals.com and get 10% extra of it. And don't be wrecked before it launches. Because making trustless interest from a contract which pays you interest as a staker, it's like having free mining hardware and free electricity, is vastly better than being liquidated and losing all your money. And for the privilege of being liquidated and losing all your money, losing all of your sleep, hurting your relationships, hurting your health,
Yep.
and having the highest possible stress, doing something that causes people to kill themselves. How many hobbies literally get you to kill yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you're choosing probably the shittiest hobby.
Yeah. Man, there was a lot of nuggets in there. That's definitely a clip. I wanted to ask you, there's a common thread, I feel, at least in my world, with people in crypto and conspiracy theories, kind of. So I want to ask you, I have to ask you, you have a great mind. I want to get your thoughts on this. What happened with the Epstein stuff? If you want to talk about that, if you don't want to, that's fine. But I'm curious from your perspective, if you had any thoughts around whether that happened, whether there's a group of people that are very powerful that are trying to take him out because he could blackmail them, or whether he just killed himself because he was used to a good life and he didn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison.
We have suicide watch in incarceration facilities because sometimes people want to kill themselves. Sometimes it's mental illness. Sometimes it's guilt or whatever, right? So like there's a bunch of different ways to get there. He was under suicide watch. He still killed himself. When you're on suicide watch, they take your shoelaces so you can't hang yourself. And they put you in a different place. It's supposed to be hard to kill yourself, and there's supposed to be people watching you to make sure you don't kill yourself. So if you're on suicide watch and they just watch while you kill yourself, that's not what the word suicide watch is supposed to mean, right? So look, I don't know what did happen, but I know who fucked up, and who fucked up was the people that operated the prison, right?
Yep.
And they should be held liable. So that guy dying did a lot of people harm. He would have been a great witness, you know, been able to rat out his co-conspirators, right? Been able to keep, like, you know, perhaps write a book, and then that money could have been sent to the people that were victims, as, you know, to help pay for their restitution. He's paying restitution. They're being made whole. So none of that happened, right? Now he's just dead, and that's not actually better for the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
unless they find Ghislaine Maxwell, his handler.
man, you think this dude was getting bossed around by some lady, and she was the mastermind or some shit?
No, not that she was the mastermind. That she also has information. Maybe they can extract it from her for some.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure she could be suicided too. Like, I just don't think. I don't think, like, it. That was set. To tell you the truth, it's pretty goddamn funny. Let's be serious.
It's crazy. Everything about it is crazy. Yeah.
If you're a conspiracy theorist, you're fucking waiting for one of your conspiracies to come true, right? You're waiting, right? If you're into aliens, you're like, man, one day those aliens are gonna land.
Right.
If you're into like contrails, one day you want to like be in an airplane and actually see the other contrail airplane, like with a big green vat of like mind control formula going into the back of the plane, right? And you're like, I see it. Yes, finally. You know, this is why people are so stupid. But it just rarely happens, right? Like, rarely do the conspiracy guys like get a home run. And so when all the conspiracy guys said, yeah, they're going to kill this guy, they're going to definitely suicide this guy. And then they suicided him. It was like, holy shit. Now that's at least 10 more years of life breathed into all conspiracy theories because that particular one panned out, right? So like you're gonna hear a lot more about the Illuminati and what was the name of that grove? Can't remember.
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove and Moloch and you know.
Prince Andrew. I mean, everybody is involved here. Bill Clinton, Trump,
Trilateral Commission. I mean, I could go through the whole. I know all of the funny stories, right? Because I retired in 2003 and just read a lot of shit on the internet. So now I'm all full of trivial knowledge you can't make any money on.
Yeah.
The good news is I'm also full of really, really good knowledge you can make money on.
Well, if you haven't watched the Sam Tripoli Tinfoil podcast, he's a comedian. He talks about a lot of this stuff. He makes some good money off it. Right. No, I agree with you. There's too many weird things. Like the security guards, I think, got arrested. The cameras weren't working. I mean, like, come on, dude. Like, this is everything about this is just garbage. Anyways, so switching back to kind of more crypto related stuff. I know Facebook is not, the crypto community. It's obviously centralized. There's a lot of bad that's going along with it. But what I like about it is that it stimulates the conversation. So
Libra?
That you can Libra, yeah.
Okay.
I think it stimulates the conversation, and if you are knowledgeable about crypto, this could be a good learning exercise for people of the difference between something Libra created, some currency, versus, let's say, Bitcoin, a decentralized currency. From your perspective, will Facebook ever launch Libra? Like, what is this going to do for the industry? What is your opinion overall of them entering the space?
Well, I think they could launch without permission because there's the law. And if they follow it, the regulators can just be quiet. They can go and write different laws, right? And so the law as it is basically says you can just make a cryptocurrency. Go ahead. Now, obviously, I'm sure you could screw it up and make it some type of thing that would be under the purview and control of some regulatory agency. But, Tether's still operating and every other stablecoin is still operating. And if they can do it, Facebook's got more money and more influence and more lobbyists. So pretty sure they could do it, right? But they're just being nice about it. They don't actually need to be nice about it. They're pricks about lots of other things. So I think it would onboard a lot of users, and I think it would make the world a better place, even though I vehemently hate Facebook. Hate it. It monetizes destroying human consciousness and turning you into a clicking, swiping machine that just spends as much time on site as possible doing things that don't empower your life, right? So it's a cancer on mankind. However, that cancer, if they release a good product, can do some good to help try and cancel out their suck, right? So my theory, I think Libra would eventually pump cryptocurrency prices because people would get in for the stable and for the ease of use and the transfer, and then they'd be like, oh, I can get rich too? Okay, give me the shit coins. And then there's this really funny JPEG image, which I'm going to describe, and it won't be funny to you because describing pictures never is, but I'm going to try it. This mother is giving like $1 to her kid to teach him about cryptocurrencies, and tells him to go buy Bitcoin, and then there's two vending machines, and there's like the Bitcoin vending machine and then the shitcoin vending machine, and the kid walks right over the shitcoin vending machine, and there's like a million coins there. It's funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, cryptocurrency is funny because anything that you bought is a world-changing, innovative product. But anything anyone else bought is a shitcoin.
Because there's so much tied to it. I mean, your whole well-being, if you invested enough, could be tied to. Not saying it's right, but that's.
Well, I find it hard to believe that this shit operates the same way in Coca-Cola and Pepsi stock. You bought Pepsi stock? It's a shitcoin.
Right.
Pepsi's the only real coin, and actually there is a Pepsi coin. There's a Pep coin. They have their own cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's right. It's like for ads or something. Yeah.
You scan it, QR codes and shit. So I guess if you're gonna be you should be a Pep coin maximalist. And
Right.
I said somebody on Twitter should be a fucking Pepcoin maximalist and put like bracket Pepcoin, and you know, put like a soda bottle next to their name. Like,
Right.
if you're talking to someone on Twitter and they have a coin in their name, you're going to have a bad time. They're not going to be reasonable in their discussion with you. Period.
Yeah.
They don't want to see a reality. They do not. So I've got a big bag of Bitcoin. It's getting fucking annihilated right now.
Yeah. Well, what do you think's happening
And
now?
you don't see me here lying to you about Bitcoin and saying it's better than it is to try and pump the fucking price, right?
Yeah. No, I know.
Because I'd
You're always
rather be
real.
honest and have less money.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think this mini crash? What do you think this is? Is it just everyday kind of thing?
China. It's China, bro. Somebody in chat said China is irrelevant. How stupid do you have to be? China said we're going all in blockchain. Their markets went limit up 10% on anything that was even slightly related to blockchain. The price went up 42% that day on the death cross. Then they said, "Yo, we don't like crypto anymore," and the price drops like 20%. Like, do you not understand timing analysis? Like, if I just some people are so fucking stupid. It just hurts my soul. They're so stupid.
Yeah. And
How could you think China doesn't matter when the exchanges that do the most volume are in China? The like press from the government is the most there. The reason for using it is the strongest there to get around capital controls, and they love gambling, right? Like, and they've got billions of people there. What more do you want to understand their relevance? You want a couple more billion people? They can't talk about it more on the television. Like, what more would you possibly want to convince you that they matter a lot? So we on HEX we have a Chinese page, and the videos are translated into Chinese, and the subs are hard coded over it. We've got a WeChat group because China's important. China's and getting more important, not less.
yeah, and the people that are raising money now in crypto are going to China to raise the money. So it's like it's not like they stopped investing. They're the place to go get money. So going back to Libra, what I thought they were going to do, the social media companies, they kind of saw the death of their companies with what they're doing with data, all the different, like the European Union, they're really cracking down on all these different companies. I thought they were going to go to the decentralized social media route because you also see the bickering between conservatives and liberals on who's being censored, the different ads that are going up. I think that decentralized social media should be there. It should exist as like a utility that people can use. Because there was an interesting argument on Joe Rogan's podcast when Tim Pool went on with Jack Dorsey and the lawyer, I forgot the lawyer's name, but they were basically saying that in an election, if the one side's voice, let's say it's more liberal bias in terms of these social media platforms, in terms of what they let on the platforms, if that's the utility or the medium in which people are having the dialogue about elections, that makes a big difference in terms of which way it tips. Because, for example, if you think a particular set of things are moral and I don't, but you are creating the rules, yeah, you're tipping it in your favor in terms of what content is pushed through there. Do you think that this is going to be an area that blockchain crypto will address?
No, not at all. Not even the little tiniest bit.
Hmm.
So what you've described is called the Overton window, and it's the range of socially acceptable positions that you can have. You can shift the window to be more conservative or more liberal, and then all of the arguments will pivot around that. And so, like, in the United States, we don't actually have a left. We don't actually. We have corporate, super corporate, or light corporate. You don't have a Labor Party. You don't have a Green Party. You have a comedy mode Libertarian Party, which is smaller than the other two I just mentioned, right? So in other nations, they actually have strong parties for labor and strong parties for green and strong parties for like liberal that you ain't never seen before in America, right? But people don't know that because they ain't never been anywhere else, and they don't realize that other countries actually get better outcomes for their citizens. So they measure how well countries are doing, and you'll find that America ain't at the top of any lists. It's not. Maybe it's the top of like billionaires that you ain't never going to be list. We got that, right? But if you talk about air quality, water quality, education, health outcomes, life expectancy, child deaths, anything, gunshot deaths, America's just getting its ass kicked by most other countries in the world that, you know, are in the G8. This just measurements, man. But Americans, they just don't know about it, right? They think, you know, this is the best it can be. You know, if you break your leg, you got to lose your job and be homeless now because your leg broke, right? You're one medical emergency away from being bankrupted and living in the street. Everybody. And you can't control when that shit hits the fan. The rest of the world already figured out that's barbaric and fucked up. And if we're just going to tax the shit out of people anyway, we might as well actually give them something for it. Because you're still being taxed the shit out of in the States. But instead, you get to blow up places you've never heard of. Far Offistan. Ain't nobody doing any good on that, right?
Yeah.
Except maybe the weapons manufacturers. Is that what you're looking for out of the world? More bombs, right? So the rest of the world's already figured out a lot of really good stuff, and America just they're not catching on, right? So I wrote before I started doing crypto, I did a lot of self-help videos, and there's one on there on how to fix politics and how to fix voting and how to fix the education system and, you know, a bunch of really cool stuff that if people took the advice, the world would be a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to your point, shifting some of those funds, like I used to work to help make more government institutions or organizations have more efficient processes. I was in business process management, if you're familiar with the space. And the amount of waste, even when you work with
is it like Six Sigma and?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So if you work with Disney, Warner Brothers, even those kind of companies, they're extremely inefficient in terms of, you know, their digital media supply chain or their supply chain or whatever it may be. To me, the problem is not only is it shifting the money over to better programs that help you, like you were saying, but also the frustration I have with the government is how inefficient it is in using those funds, right? There has to be a better way in which they can allocate those funds. They can have accountability for how they use those funds. You don't know how it's used. You don't know if it's successful. And the metrics that are captured of whether or not it's successful is done by the government as well. So I think that's a big problem that we have is not just spending the money on the right things, but also doing it efficiently, which I think so much money is wasted that way.
Well, I mean, they've literally lost $1 trillion or something they can't even account for. And they just gave up. They're like, yeah, we don't know where it went. Okay. Maybe if it wasn't $1 trillion, it was 100 billion or something. They lost some unreasonable amount of money. I don't know, dude. I don't think you're going to find any real fans of big government or even medium-sized government in crypto.
Yeah, right. So switching gears, I think you're one of the most entertaining personalities. So I'm a big in crypto, and I'm a big fan of comedy. Curious, who is your favorite comedian, and what's your favorite comedy club if you know of anybody?
I think I don't really have a favorite comedy club, but I think Bill Burr is pretty goddamn hilarious.
Yes.
So
He's great.
He's consistently good, consistently makes new material, you know. I guess who's the redheaded dude from Mexico?
Louis C.K.
Yeah. Louis C.K. He was pretty funny. He's probably still funny. But you just get to see him less because, you know, he jerked off in front of some of his friends. So
he's making a comeback slowly.
Who? Chappelle or?
No, Louis C.K. Chappelle just had a special. Yeah, Bill Burr just had the Paper Tiger special. I think you probably have seen
I haven't seen Bill Burr's Paper Tiger, but I did see Chappelle's whatever it was called.
Yeah.
How Do You Like Me Now or something? I can't remember.
Right. And then Eddie Murphy's coming back with the new special. He's coming back with movies, a special. He's to me, in terms of OGs, he's the GOAT. And then recently I would say I like Chappelle and Burr. And then my up and coming comedies like Andrew Santino, Brian Callen. I don't think Joe Rogan's funny.
Is Brian Callen funny? I've only seen him on Rogan.
Oh, I like him.
Funny to me.
He's just a guy that knows how to make fun of himself.
I didn't even know he was a comedian.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I never laughed at anything he said. Okay.
He has another podcast called Fighter and the Kid. That's where it's more comedy. When you go on Rogan, it's a mix of intellectual and comedy, so it's hit or
When
miss.
when I'm on Rogan, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Everyone's trying to get me on there, but if you want to get on Rogan, you've got to go on all the other podcasts he watches first, and then he knows you're good. So if you actually want to go on there, you got to get on all his homies first, right?
Yeah.
It's just like it's kind of like getting jumped into a gang as a girl.
Exactly.
Holy shit! Did we go there? Oh my god!
But
oh
it's
no!
worth it. I mean, his
Let's
audience.
have Richard sleep deprive some more for live stream. Oh shit!
Anyone that goes on his podcast in terms of comedy sells out. So I mean, it's like worth it to do what you need to do to get on there.
Right.
So I wanted to. We touched briefly upon it, but just very simply, I think the background I come from is like more enterprise software. I think would be interesting is explaining why a new person that's entering the space, whether they have Bitcoin or not, should use HEX. Why should somebody use HEX in their currency?
I'm very qualified to answer this. Mm-hmm. This might be my favorite question ever. So I got in when Bitcoin was less than $1, and then it went up to 20,000, and I got it for free. Wouldn't it be nice if you could get something for free that was better than that, right? So in Bitcoin doesn't plug into distributed finance, right? HEX plugs into distributed finance because we're all in the same ecosystem. So if you want to do atomic swaps with other coins, they're trustless. You can do them. If you want to use HEX as like collateral for some loan or something, it's very easy to do because it's all in the same network, right? We all can transact with each other. If you're in Bitcoin, you can't transact with anything. You've got to, as soon as you want to leave the Bitcoin network, you've got to go to a central counterparty that can screw you, right? Oh, you want a stable coin? Well, hop out of Bitcoin through this centralized party and to get onto a crappy stable coin, right? Mm. But in the network that we're in, you want to get a stable coin? No problem. Boop, boop, boop. It's in the same ecosystem. All the contracts talk to each other, right? So basically, like building on Bitcoin is like building on AOL. And building on the network that we're built on is like building on the real internet. And they're Legos of finance, right? And so HEX is the time deposit part of finance, right? We're the first cryptocurrency in the world to replace the second most popular product at your bank. First most popular product, savings account. Second most popular product, time deposit. The longer you lock up your money, the more you get paid. We're the world's first blockchain CD. So in theory, we address a larger market than any other cryptocurrency. So, Bitcoin tries to address currency, and that's about 5 trillion printed money. And then time deposits in the US and China alone is worth 7.2 trillion. Mm-hmm. Many, many trillions more if you count the rest of the world. So we attack the largest market. We have a referral program. If you click someone's referral link, you get paid 10% more. We've got free onboarding for people. If you're a Bitcoin holder on December 2nd at 0000 UTC, then you'll be able to claim free Bitcoin HEX, 10,000 Bitcoin HEX per Bitcoin. And you could have one Satoshi. You don't have to have a full Bitcoin, right? Also, if you have Ethereum and you want to transform it into HEX, you can. You don't get your Ethereum back. If you claim with HEX, you keep your HEX. You could claim with HEX on, so we do the snapshot December 2nd, and then we open the contract on December 3rd, and then that opens the adoption amplifier lobbies where people can send Ethereum in. And then on December 4th, you can get your HEX out of the lobbies, and you can start staking and claiming and doing all that other awesome stuff. So free claim, adoption amplifier, or rather snapshot, adoption amplifier, and then claiming and leaving the lobbies with your HEX, and then staking. That all happens on December 4th. So, and when you start your stake December 4th, it really doesn't actually start December 4th. There's a little bit of lag because only full days are counted. And since you're starting on the 4th, you can't get a full day of the 4th. So it waits till the 5th, and then that's your first full day, right? And then day 353 at the end of the year, you're going to get all of the unclaimed coins times the adoption bonuses, critical mass, and virality. One measures how many claims there were, and one measures how big the claims were. And that can increase the payout to the stakers on day 353 by threefold. So the big payout, the largest payout in the system, it's bigger than the whole AA system, it's bigger than anything else, is that big payday on day 353, and that's what everyone's aiming for. If you get in earlier, if you get in the first day, you get 20% extra HEX for claiming. If you stake for a year longer, you get an extra 20% more shares. If you stake for 10 years longer, you get an extra 3x. Well, not an extra 3x, but you get 3x of shares. It's an extra 2x, right? Because you already had your original 1x. So it's 3x total. And if you stake bigger, you can get up to a 1.1x. Just kind of like a jumbo CD. So in the real world, if you lock your funds for about a year longer, you get about 20% more money. And if you have a jumbo CD, it pays about 10% more interest. So we modeled what really already works in finance in the real world. How much more do you get paid if you stake a little longer? And then we put that into the contract. What else?
I wanted to, you touched briefly upon it, but
Mm-hmm.
walk through the step by step. So I'll say I have Bitcoin.
Sure.
Where do I go to claim it?
Mm-hmm. So the tool to do that is not public yet, but you would go to a website called go.hex.win. And that's going to pull up the wallet. And the wallet is the interface by which you can run your own code. So in HEX, you are the network. When you claim your coins, you're actually minting your own coins, just like a Bitcoin miner. When a Bitcoin miner mines his coins, he gives his coins to himself. And then the network looks and says, oh, those coins played by the rules, and so they're valid. Cool, we'll interact with that guy, right? Mm-hmm. HEX is the same way. When you claim your coins, you're submitting a proof to the contract that says that you had a Bitcoin balance, and then it looks and says, okay, how early were you? And then it pays you. And if you're late, you get penalized. So if you don't claim your coins the first day, you start bleeding out your ability to claim. By week 25, half of your stack's missing. And your speed bonus is half too. So you started out with a 20% speed bonus on day one and your whole stack. But if you wait 25 weeks till half the claim phase is over, you're missing half your stack and you're missing half your bonus. And that's going to be given to the people that were timely, to the stakers on day 353. So, and if you have more shares because you stake longer, you're going to get a much bigger chunk of that giant payout. And that giant payout's a big deal because this system only inflates up to a maximum of 3.69% per year. And only when people end their stakes, and a lot of people are likely to have their stakes ending, pretty far out in the future. So, our actual inflation rate is going to be far lower than Bitcoin's has ever been in the 10 years that it's existed. That's pretty awesome. And that's after day 353. Before day 353, we do have inflation because we give people a lot of bonuses, and we're taking a currency that never existed and we're bringing it into reality, right? So when you go from zero to nothing, that's a lot of inflation. But after that claim phase is over, there's extremely low inflation. And it's unlike any other currency because if you're an average length, average sized staker, there's technically no inflation to you because you're getting all the new coins. The only people that are actually being diluted are the people who aren't staked or undersized or under length. And length matters 30 times more than size because it pays up to 3x, whereas size only pays up to 1.1x. And so if you look at the bonuses, it's like a 200% bonus versus a 10% bonus. So it's basically like 20x difference. So, longer is more important than bigger. We basically use bigger to stop people from spamming the network with a bunch of transactions. So to be good citizens and be gas efficient and leave space for other things to happen, we wanted people to combine their stakes. And so 10% seemed like the minimum reasonable, okay, here's a good reason for you to combine your stakes. But we didn't want to make it too big because then, you're just making the whales get bigger, right? And we've got a whale penalty that cuts whales' BTC claims by 75%, in between 50 and 75. So if you've got 1,000 coins in your address, you're losing half your stack, like that. It's going to get paid to the other stakers. If you got over 10,000 coins in your address, 75%. See ya. You got 25% left. So if you're a big exchange and you want to claim on behalf of your users, well, do you have your wallet split up? No? Okay. Well, then you're going to get annihilated by the whale penalty. Because we want people that are going to buy more. And I don't think that if a whale claims, he's as likely to buy more as a smaller guy, right? So the Mt. Gox trustee was given 200,000 Bitcoin cash. when Bitcoin Cash forked from normal Bitcoin. So you know what he did with them? Sold 40,000 of them. He's got 160,000 left. And what did that do good for the world? Nothing. Didn't do anything good for anyone anywhere, right? Who's going to get that money? Mark Karpeles or Peter Vincents. And that ain't good for nobody. So, so we don't allow them to claim. Like they're removed from the UTXO set. They can't claim.
What I really like about HEX and how you described it is it seems like it is an OG talking in the sense that you looked at everything wrong in the space and every way that it has failed us, but all the cool stuff it did provide and it did prove, and providing a way for people to get in free, which is awesome. It seems too good to be true, but that's probably why you did it that way. But from initially, how has your feedback been? Like, what have people been saying to you? Has there been a lot of interest?
Both things. There's been a ton of interest. There's been a ton of interest and there's been a ton of hate. In this world, if you matter and you make a difference, people hate you.
Yeah.
If you're Elon Musk and you made the safest, quickest car that's ever existed, ever, people hate you. They hate you. If you make the first rocket to ever land itself and be reusable, people hate you. Why? Don't really know. I have theories. I have theories that people try and increase their importance by tearing you down at a distance, but then if they're close enough to actually work with you, they flip and they start to like kiss your ass.
Yeah.
So people talk a lot of shit at a distance, and then as soon as they're like, oh shit, I could actually work with this dude, oh my God, that'd be so cool, right? So, you know, it's a way to try and like modulate their own social influence and appear more important, to try and appear on your level by being an antagonist. So, you know, if you look in a book, you've got a protagonist and an antagonist. Well, they're both in the book. And the antagonist is a shitty one, but he's still in the book, right? So if people aren't good enough to build something in the world and achieve, well, then they can try and be in the same book by fucking with you and clout chase, right? So I've got 100,000 followers across YouTube and Twitter, which in crypto is a shitload. But in any other real business in the real world, it's pitiful garbage. But all these other guys with 2,000 followers are like, oh, I can't wait to take on the king. I'm gonna get some of his followers. I'm gonna clout chase him up, tag on all his threads, and talk shit, right? So it's like, yo, man, why don't you just change industries? Seriously, I would get more followers if I reviewed keyboards, and I got 100 keyboards. So if I reviewed keyboards, I would have more followers. Right?
You're into keyboards, huh?
Not
Any good
really.
ones?
Oh God, I've got everything, dude. Like, I've got everything. I don't even want to go into it. I've taken pictures. Google Richard Hart keyboards, and then
I have a buddy that was into them, and I was like, what is there? And then I saw one that had like cool action on the keyboard, and I was like, oh, I guess there's something to this.
I mean, look, I could sell it to you. I could be like, listen, how many hours a day do you spend with your hands on this thing, touching it?
All day.
All day. Okay, well, you want it to feel good? You want it to sound good? Because you're going to be spending probably the rest of your life playing with it. So if you're going to spend the rest of your life playing with something, it might as well be awesome, right? Now the problem is once you have 100 keyboards and you find your like end game, that's the only thing you want. And fuck everything else. I don't care about any of my other keyboards. I care about my end game, right? And so I got a whole lot of keyboards sitting around. A whole lot. Like about $10,000 worth. More, actually. And when some of them, when you order them, they take years to arrive. That's how long it takes. Wow. So I still got one keyboard I'm still waiting on. It's like, hope it gets done one day. Probably not even going to use it is the sad part.
Why is it special? Is it a special made kind of?
Well, I can't tell you because there's so few of them that you know, I can't tell you.
Gotcha. Cool. So you mentioned keyboards, and I've seen a bunch of your other podcasts where you talk about, you know, after crypto, you'll do this or that. There's a lot of things that you have, like, you're very ambitious and you're doing it. You're actually succeeding in doing it. Where outside of crypto and blockchain, like, what are you interested in terms of new emerging technologies? Do you see anything with a lot of promise, things that you're tracking?
Sure. I think machine learning is awesome. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that can come out of that. So for instance, I did this video beating up on a pretend trader that sells people on how to trade but doesn't actually trade himself. And he makes terrible price calls. And he knocked off some other guy's system. And who's very hateful towards most other people in the crypto space.
Hmm.
So I just annihilated him in a public debate. Now, look, I'd still like to work with him and see him, promote the project and send people to it as a referrer, and maybe he could onboard himself and benefit from this thing that we built. And I'd like to see him stop destroying people's lives for profit, right? If you're convincing people to trade for a living, you're destroying their lives. You're feeding them to the meat grinder. And yeah, you're going to make money on it, but those people are not going to be happy, right? And you should have known you were destroying their lives because your ass got wrecked too. And what? They're going to do worse than you because you're the teacher, right? So you got wrecked, so now they're going to get super wrecked. I give better price calls than he does for fun and free. So like, this guy called the 7K top, and we went to 20K, right? And then, like, it just all bad calls all day long, right? I tell him, I'm like, the reason that we had a 3K bottom was because this Chinese Ponzi bought 4 billion cash worth of crypto and kept $1 billion for themselves in an exit scam, the Plus Token Ponzi. And he's like, Plus Token, what's that? You mean Tether? He didn't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like, yeah, the 14K top was the day those guys got arrested. He's like, huh? Because he just looks at the chart. He don't look at the news. Mm-hmm. So he don't, like, if you don't look at the news now and you're just a technical analyst, you are fucked. You are 100% fucked. Because your lines and your moving averages and your stupid indicators and your OBV and your, like, I can list you 100 different indicators, right? None of that shit predicts when President Xi decides that we're going to go all in Bitcoin. Oh, but we're also going to ban Bitcoin. Oh, but we like it again. But we hate it again. But we like it again. Oh, we like it. We hate it, like it. Ha ha. Good luck. But he pretends that he's good at that game, so he can get you for a $295 dinner to eat steak with him, because he can't afford to eat with you for free like a nice guy. He's got to charge you for that shit because he's broke, because he ain't never made money trading, right? And then he's going to charge you $450 for an indicator, which is a piece of shit that you could just download the TD indicator, right? It's garbage. Or you can pay $800 to see him live in person, and he'll convince you that you're going to be a good trader, and then you can go lose all your money. You can pay him for the privilege of losing all your money in the market. Or you could skip all that shit and just buy the right coin early and just sit with your thumb up your ass and wait. And don't try and time the market and get chopped the fuck up, right? How many people in Bitcoin prayed that they could have just held it for 10 years?
Yeah, seriously.
If you could have held your Bitcoin for 10 years, man, ooh, you'd be a happy dude, right? And how many people would have been real happy to have held their Ethereum for 5 years?
Yeah.
Real happy, right? So that time in the market in 2017, easy, okay? No dips over 40%, new all-time highs shortly thereafter, over and over and over again. Now, 42% up candle, 100% retrace 30 days later. Oh shit, right? The game changed. And if you don't realize the game changed, you're just going to get chopped up and lose all your money. That's where we're at. Now maybe the game will come back one day, right? Maybe after all new all-time highs, we can have a alt season. Maybe when HEX launches, we have an alt season. Let's see, right? This is a good spot. We have good confluence here. We've got a horizontal at 67.50. We got the downtrend line, and we've got what I believe to be a pretty weak trend line on our up curve before we went parabolic. That all three of those lines meet right here at about 67.50. Not a bad place to long if you're drawing lines on a chart and you're into that kind of thing. A lot of times in crypto, those lines work out. If you sold that line from the 14K top, you got that 12K sell real good with a fake out, unfortunately. So, yeah, lines on a chart. I like lines on a chart. So, as long as you're willing to understand that China can come and stab you in the throat whenever they want. Yeah. And if you can't take my advice and you just can't help yourself and you have to trade, go to richardhart.win and have a good time.
Yeah, as someone who has not done so well trading, at least the first 2 months I was in the industry, do not do it and hold. I think that's the right strategy of a coin that you've done the research on, that's here to stay. I don't recommend anything, but I tell people I hold Bitcoin. So
here's the problem with the trading, right? You're sitting looking at your screen, and some other dude's sitting and looking at his screen, and you're trying to steal each other's money. And neither one of you wants the other guy to actually get your money. It's a net negative game that just destroys two people's lives and enriches the the exchange. That's why HEX is so awesome. It's trustless interest. It's trustless interest. There ain't no, you ain't got to look at your screen. He ain't got to look at his screen. You guys can go have good, productive lives, right? And there ain't no middleman sucking out profit with transaction fees and liquidations and insurance fund and bullshit, right? Remove counterparties. Remove risk. It's better. Trustless interest is a better way to make gains. And you can make mad gains.
And if somebody dumps, to your point, they're not going to dump it on your head, and there's some safeguards against that you've put in place.
Well, there's a chart that shows when people can sell. And there's, if someone emergency end stakes, they're going to be very heavily penalized. And that rewards the people that are still staked. So it's kind of funny. Like, someone could be incentivized to produce FUD to get people to end their stakes with emergency end stake as a profit center for the other stakers. It's kind of funny. Because, the other stakers are going to make more when they're not competing with other stakes for the profit inputs, and they get a new profit input from that person's penalty. So it's interesting that it's the first cryptocurrency in the world to have a chart of future market supply, because when people can sell.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first blockchain CD in the world, which is the second most popular product at the bank. And it's the first currency that I think has like a built-in incentive to maybe try and convince people to end their stakes early, to see if you can get them to fall for it. It's kind of interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I don't see the chat right now. Is there anything trending in the chat or things people are asking, Richard?
Let's take a look. So I should tell you guys, go to pumpamentals.com. You get 10% using that link bonus. If you want to go and not get the 10% bonus and you just want to go to the normal website, it's hex.win, HEX.win. Or if you've already got a referral link from somebody else, use theirs, right? It doesn't matter to me which link you use that much, as long as you use a good honest referrers link. In the chat, let's take a look. Hex question. When no one is selling because of time locks and not that many are buying, it's going to have low liquidity and insane volatility. What are your thoughts on that? I don't think that means it's going to have low liquidity. Like, I don't think that it depends on what you call it. So if you made, let's say HEX was worth $1 billion. And let's say the available supply was worth like 10% of it. Let's say it was 90% locked up, which, a normal masternode or a normal masternode coin that rewards people for kind of locking up when they can just end it whenever they want. So it's not the same, like totally not the same, but it's the closest thing we kind of have in crypto. I think they trend towards 60 to 70%. Let's call it 50 to 70% locked up is what they trend towards. And our rewards are so strong at the end of this first year, and they reward you so much better for staking longer, that it feels to me that it's likely that we'll have a higher lockup rate than that. Now, I am pulling these numbers out of my ass. I'm making guesses, but you should be allowed to guess, and who's going to have a better guess than me? So here's my guesses, right? Do your own research, not financial advice, blah, blah, blah. But here's my guesses. So I think, let's say it was worth $1 billion, and then 10% is free. So that's 100 million. And then let's say 50% of that's on exchange. You get 50 million. And then, is that enough to like support how much trading you want to do? Probably. Like, how many millions do you need on your order book to be considered liquid? I mean, 50 million sitting there seems like a lot to me, right? Because if you spread that across the whole order book, you probably end up with like maybe 10 million, 20 million within a 1% range on either side, which is kind of, I don't know, maybe these numbers are wrong. Like that, I think those numbers would be right if it wasn't on that many exchanges. If it was on more exchanges, the order books would be thinner because you had to spread that liquidity across more places. But then you've got other things like derivatives where they generate their own liquidity and has absolutely no bearing or relationship at all to the underlying liquidity of the actual product, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't see a mechanism. I don't see a direct mechanism where locking up more coins, which increases the value of the coins, assuming static or increasing demand, somehow causes thin order books. Because if the demand is static or increasing and the price is increased because of the lockups, well, then that higher price should create thicker order books because it's worth more, right? Like if your thing was worth less, then you'd have thinner order books. If your thing is worth more, you should have thicker order books. So I don't see a reason for there to be thin order books because of the percent of supply locked up. I think thinness or thickness of order books has more to do with adoption and popularity of that product on the exchange. If market makers see enough movement and volume there to thicken up the order books, to multiply their advantage of working the bid-ask spread. So I think popularity with market makers, I think volume, I think those are going to have a larger effect on order book thickness, including what the quality of the exchange is, like how many users are there in the first place. I think all of those will have a greater effect on order book thickness and slippage and liquidity than what percentage of the supply is locked up. That's my gut feeling.
Have you spoken to the exchanges yet, Richard? Are you already in talks with
Some of
them,
them,
or later? Yeah.
yeah, I've spoken to some of them. It's they make life hard, right? So on day one, we're going to be on Ether Delta and Fork Delta. IDEX reached out and said they wanted to list us. I think this was like 8 months ago, so I got to check back in with those guys. They're 50% of all DEX volume on Ethereum. And another exchange reached out to me yesterday and said they wanted to list, and are putting guys on it, and they say they're writing up a page for the site and such. They're gonna give people who refer like 6 months of free trading and all types of other cool stuff. I think they're more incentivized to make really cool deals like that because they're a newer place and they want to onboard users. And we've got 18,500 emails on the list.
Oh.
We've got 4,600 people in the chat, which is a ton of people. And this is without any news article yet. But I'm set to speak to a nice reporter Monday, and so probably a news article comes out of that. And this was with not a single dollar spent on marketing. And our chat room's busier than Bitcoin chat rooms. Our memes channel is busier than Bitcoin memes. We sign up hundreds of new users every day to the mailing list, and that's with no ads. So I'm very, very happy with the performance thus far. So right now in the HEX chat, which is t.me/HEX crypto, there's 4,678 people. That's a lot of people, man. And, if you go to sleep, when you wake up, there's going to be 1,200 new messages. So people are busy, and they're talking, and they're excited. Or as we call it, HEX-cited.
Oh, God.
We've got so many words that start with EX that we're just slapping that H in front of. It's exhilarating.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, and yeah. I think you timed the market really well too, because a lot of the ones that got in earlier, they came with the same pain points, challenges, and then now I think we're on another wave of people. I think my enterprise friends and enterprise software are now getting in that were not early adopters. I think they're now starting to spill in, and with you baking in all of the challenges that Bitcoin had into this new solution, I think is really interesting. I'm gonna do a ton more research myself because I'm a holder. I want to, in December, make sure to claim my HEX as well. And then I'm probably going to do some type of review or video of the whole process, which,
cool.
I'm not super technical. So I think if I can go through it, it'd be pretty simple for others to do it as well.
So I'll tell you, if you want maximum HEX and you already hold Bitcoin,
Mhm.
You can free claim. You can have your coins at the December 2nd snapshot. Then you can turn them into ETH on an exchange. Or you turn your BTC into ETH, and then send it to the adoption amplifier on December 3rd. And then on December 4th, you're going to get out all the HEX from the adoption amplifier. So the adoption amplifier is there's a billion HEX that day, and there's an empty bucket. And people put ETH into the empty bucket. And if you're 10% of the ETH bucket, you're going to get 10% of the HEX that day. So if you put in 10% of the ETH, and that happens, those buckets empty at the end of the day, right? Technically, you empty them by running a function. And then you new day. And that happens for 350 days. That's very similar to how EOS launched, and they raised $4.2 billion doing that. It was the most money that anyone has ever made in crypto, ever, including Satoshi, including everybody.
Yeah.
So we are using a similar launch model there. Now, in our system, the number of coins the next day, they go down. So the next day is only 500 million coins available, and it just keeps going down from there. Every day people make more free claims, less and less coins is available to the adoption amplifier because it's only getting a copy of unclaimed coins. So as more people claim, there's less available to the adoption amplifier, which all tends to tilt the price towards up, right? Because if you keep restricting supply and limiting supply, then people see limited time offer and they see, share price only goes up. So you can never, whenever you get in at whatever share price you get in, right? So you have to stake this many HEX to get a share, or this many hearts to get a share. There's 100 million hearts in every HEX, just like there's 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin. That whatever share price you paid, you'll never ever get a lower share price ever. It is impossible because they only go up. Every time someone ends their stake, the system looks at how much profit they made. And then if they're the highest profit ratio that's ever been seen, the system sets that as the newest price. And so now everyone else that ever wants to get in has to pay that higher price. That's mathematically equivalent to compounding for the early guys, and it makes a beautiful price chart, one that only goes up and never down. Very cool. Very, very cool. So in fact, their shares become more scarce than the HEX because they keep getting more expensive. And there's only a finite amount of HEX, and the shares keep getting more expensive, which means that you can only generate fewer and fewer of them. There's really, 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 really cool game theory in this. And I'm not mentioning to you, there's a lot of game theory in this that I'm not even mentioning to you because there's so much. Just go to the website, go to pumpamentals.com, or if you've already got a nice referral link that you've clicked, go to hex.win, and you'll see how awesome the game theory is. It's the best I've ever seen.
So, yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. And so as we now are approaching December, I guess there's that event. Are there any other updates, events that you have going on, Richard, that you want to make the audience aware of?
Well, sure. We've got a Ethereum hard fork with a lot of new stuff being rolled out on December 4th, which also just happens to be the day that the staking and claiming start. It's the day that you can get your HEX out of the adoption lobby the first day, the adoption amplifier lobby. So that should be exciting. There's a lot of really cool features in there, new ones. And then, that's the only dates I've got in my head, right? December 2nd, snapshot. December 3rd, adoption amplifier lobbies open. December 4th, lobbies close for the first time and start a new day. And you can start making your free claims and start staking, and then December 4th is also the date of their hard fork. And I would have to check the time on it. I mean, my guess is that it would be UTC time, but I could look.
You've been doing these live streams a lot more lately. Are you going to start? I love them. I think you should continue to do it. But are you going to do it every day, every week? I know you're super busy, but
I don't know. I mean, I want to have a high quality of discourse, and there's a relatively finite number of interlocutors that I could interact with in order to achieve that. And these cocksuckers don't respond to like messaging. So you're like, hey, homeboy, let's chat. DM me.
Yeah.
They don't respond.
Hmm.
She's like, okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to, like, I don't want to email you. I know you see this shit. You know, I
Right.
don't like email. Um, so if people want to have a high level of discourse, feel free to message me at t.me/Richard Hart, and let's do a live stream and we'll talk about whatever. If you want to do a live stream and the requirement is no one mentions HEX, cool. I don't mind. Fine. But let's produce some content and, you know, educate the people and get the word out there of better things. I know a lot of things that no one else in crypto knows for some reason. And I know a lot of truth and speak it that no one else is willing to. My voice should be heard. I can help a lot of people. So, you know, I do the best I can getting the word out, and it helps to partner up with people. You know, they get exposure to my audience, I get exposure to their audience, and then people use their brains and decide how they want to spend their time, and you end up with like a survival of the fittest. You know, the people that have the best ideas should rise to the top, but man, I'm looking and it doesn't look like they are. So I almost regret mentioning that idea because it doesn't seem like it's happening. Like you would think there's a survival of fittest in like the thought leader space, but it turns out most people just listen to dumb fucks. So
Yeah. There has been some correction, but yeah, I agree.
don't know why. Don't know why.
If Craig Wright's still on the stage, then it hasn't, the filter's broken. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm doing the best I can, right? I'm. If you have a token launch coming up in less than like 10 days, and you have the ability to do media things, seems like a really good time to be doing media things, right?
Mm.
So I'm doing that.
Yeah.
It would be stupid if I didn't.
Cool. So I don't have anything else like major. I don't know if there's something in the chat that's coming up, but thank you so much, Richard. This has
It's
been
my
very
pleasure.
enlightening.
Hey, we had a good chill stream, man. Sorry I was tired, but you know I've been working real super hard, and hopefully my very hard effort enriches your life.
Yes, it will. You gave me. I just started the YouTube channel, so you've given me exposure to thousands and thousands of people. I think you have like 60,000 or 62,000 subscribers.
On with Shahan. It
Yeah,
rhymes.
yeah, that's right.
So if you like Shahan, I've linked to his YouTube channel down there in the show notes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, please follow me. Please follow Richard. And December's a big month with HEX. If you're a Bitcoin holder, make sure to check that out. I will myself. Seems like a no-brainer. You get it for free. I mean, there's nothing to lose there.
You have to pay. You either have to mine your own Ethereum block or pay a couple pennies to someone else to do it for you, because you're the software, right? You're minting your own coins. But I think a couple pennies is close enough to free, right?
Yeah.
And you're not giving them to me or anyone else that I know. You're choosing to pay some miner to run your code that you chose. So go do.
It's
So
excellent.
I'll tell you,
It's excellent.
it's an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah.
I'll give you my show list. You want to do yours first? Oh, I already did yours. So here's mine. Free books, t.me/SciVive. Could change your life. After HEX, SciVive is the next big thing. I'm trying to save my life through medical technology, my loved ones, my pets. If I get another one, my last one died. Couldn't help her. I'm tired of people I love just dying all around me. I'd like to start making a difference in the world. 2, if you want price calls, Richard's calls, I still post stuff about price, but you really shouldn't be trading. If you are going to trade, go to richardhart.win. If you want to chat with other traders, t.me/Strape charts. If you want to talk about general crypto, t.me/Strape, like strawberry grape. Or street rape if you know you're witty like that. I've heard all the things. Hex Crypto, youtube.com/Hex Crypto, twitter.com/Hex Crypto, t.me/Hex Crypto. We got Hex Crypto everywhere. I mean, I even picked it up on Tumblr. Why not? Ain't no posts on it, but we got the link.
How about TikTok? Are you on TikTok?
I ain't on no TikTok, but I guess I'll look into it.
Yeah.
make some music videos for you
Yeah,
homies.
that's right. That's the Gary V. You have to be on TikTok early.
Oh,
Early
fuck.
adopters win, or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't want to make a damn TikTok video every day. But I tell you, I have seen a couple real funny ones.
yeah.
What else? RichardHart.win, 54K followers on there. 53.8, I think, today.
Hmm.
And then youtube.com/Richard Hart. And so that's free books, free chats, free price calls, free video education,
Hmm.
and now free tokens. Pumpamentals.com. Or if you've already clicked a ref link, you don't need the 10%, you're getting it from someone else, then HEX.win. That's a lot of free stuff.
Yeah.
Ton of free stuff. Notice that you don't have any way to give me money. There's no shopping cart. We do have a shopping cart on HEX shirts or hexshirt.com, but you can't use it. I've turned the billing off because I don't feel like dealing with customer service. So it's never been billing opened yet. But after launch, maybe we'll turn the billing on. You can see cool things like HEX bikinis and bean bags and flip flops and
Oh, nice.
fanny packs, and we just made it real laughable. There's a lot of stuff in there I can't imagine anyone would ever buy, but we put it there because we could. If I go to the beach and I see someone with a HEX bikini on, man, I have to buy them lunch.
You've made it at that point. Yeah, you already made it. But that's like, that's like legendary right there.
It would be pretty funny, man. It would be pretty funny. Yeah, one day. Yeah. So I mentioned this to you because the haters who don't want anyone to innovate, who don't want to see anyone build something new, who don't want to see a lot of people get wealthy, because if you get something for free, what's your annualized percentage returns on something free if it attains any value whatsoever? Vastly, vastly high, right? And this thing is designed to do everything better than Bitcoin does, except for liquidity when it launches, because that takes time to build, and retail adoption, which Bitcoin's got 800 sites that use it apparently, and it used to have twice that in 2017. So I'm not real excited with Bitcoin's 2.8 million users that have over $1,000 in a wallet, or in an address rather. That's not a lot of people, and over 42% of Bitcoin's held by under 2,000 addresses. And most people have more than one address. So in reality, over 42% of Bitcoin is owned by less than, 1,800 people. So when people say, oh, we're going to change the world, we're going to revolutionize the world, we're going to get rid of the bankers. I hate to break it to you, bro, but the bankers own more than you do. So when you're out there shilling real hard about how you're going to change finance, you're making the bankers richer than you. Just so you know. HEX solves that. HEX solves onboarding with a referral program. HEX solves the whales. Now, when I say solves the whales, we're really just creating new whales. So we're killing the old ones so that you can be a whale. But we're still going to have whales, right? That's just how life is. Anytime a new project starts from nothing, fewer people know about it when it starts than when it's been around for a while. And that gives the early people an advantage. And in our system, the early people get in our system, the early people get huge advantages. It's by design, right? So we're not solving inequality. We're just getting rid of the old whales and making new ones. So what else? It's just there's so much good stuff in here. It's more secure. We were unlikely to have an inflation bug, of which Bitcoin has had two. An inflation bug is a nice way of saying print as many free coins as you want. That happened to Bitcoin twice. Once was executed and they had to roll the chain back in 2010. This last one was caught with Bitcoin Cash by a Bitcoin Cash developer. Bitcoin code is spaghetti code. It takes you 9 months to get up to speed to try and patch up anything that you could actually get approved to roll into it. And because everything is tied to everything else, there's no modularity. If you touch the networking, you might cause an inflation bug where people can print as many coins as they want. In our system, our consensus code is locked in a smart contract that's immutable. No one can change it. And therefore, it's very, very hard for anyone to screw up and be like, oh, actually, you can just print it for as many HEX as you want. It's extremely unlikely because it's isolated in a modular, safe thing. And so we're like, and we've had security audits, and Ethereum has a bug bounty program. So these are all things which are superior to Bitcoin, and the transaction fees are lower, and it plugs into DeFi, and you're getting it for free. And like, We don't have miners dumping the price all the time because we only pay transaction fees to them instead of block rewards. There's just so many things that are better. It's crazy. So when people that have big bags of Bitcoin, of which sadly I am one, you know, they get very hateful on Twitter for the same reason they hate Elon and they hated Jobs and they hate anyone that matters. Because if you can't build and you can't create, you can try and get in the same book by destroying and being a clout chaser and a hater. So, you know, as this project gets more successful, you're going to see more hate.
Yeah,
And it's
I'm
fine.
excited.
I've got copy pasta rebuttals to all the hate because I've seen it for years.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, Richard. I think this is going to be really interesting, and it's like probably the biggest project right now that I'm tracking in terms of new different updates, new projects on the horizon. So excited to see this roll out. And given how you're looking at this, the amount of detail, like the game theory behind it, I think it's just a matter of it being picked up by a few different media sources like you're talking to
Yeah.
for people to be made aware of this.
Look, I got to tell you, you know, like near 20,000 signups on the email list is a ton. I mean, in crypto, people they're all using Proton mail addresses for anonymity, which means they're very security conscious. Which means probably most people on the site don't want to just give up their email address for no good reason. And in our system, it's totally optional. There's no reason to really give it to us. It's just to remind you, hey, by the way, you know, something's happening. Just thought I would tell you. But there's no, you never use it for anything, right? It's not tied to anything. It's just so that if there's some news, you can get it. So we got 20,000 on the email list. Man, imagine how many people really actually care. Like what percentage of visitors to the site, a crypto site, and particularly Bitcoin maximalists for the most part, how many of them want to give up their email? 10%? 20%? I don't think, I mean, let's call it 10%, right? I don't give my email to any websites. I don't even like email, right? I don't get much spam because no one knows my address. And if they do mail me, I rarely read the thing. I hate email. You know, if 10% of the people gave us their email addresses, well, then that means there's 200,000 people really, really interested. That is a shitload of people. 200,000 people in crypto is a ton.
Yeah, because you said what, 2,800 Bitcoin holders,
Or
right?
2.8 million. Well, there's 2.8 million Bitcoin holders with over $1,000 in an address. And that really means there's less than 2.8. It's about 2.83, 2.85 when I looked a few days ago. They, you know, most of those whales have got more than one address, so it's really maybe only, you know, 2 million people or something, right? And so, like, the Bitcoin subreddit's got, I think, 1.1 million signups on it. So for us to have, like, 200,000 interested parties, that's really, really good. Without a news article yet, we'll see what happens on Reporter Day Monday, and without any money spent on marketing, that's damn fantastic. Really, really, really good.
Did you raise money or did you
Nope.
fund this yourself? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's really interesting. I think that's another another thing to look at, where most of the projects did whatever they did just because of the money coming in, not because of the legitimacy of the project. Which is why we all got destroyed. You know, those that held.
Here's what an ICO is, right? An ICO is where they sell you a giant dream. It's basically a form of advanced fee fraud, and you can go to Wikipedia and look up advanced fee fraud, and there's many different forms of this con. You convince someone there's going to be some big future value, and then you get them to give you money up front for the big future value, and then you just don't do anything and keep the money, right? That's what ICOs did. Hey guys, we're going to change the whole world, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this, blah, 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 give us money. And then people gave them the money, and they're like, it didn't work out, fuck off, bye, see ya. HEX is totally different. HEX is fully functional off the bat. No promises. The opposite. So an ICO is not functional and makes you promises. HEX is functional and doesn't make you promises. It's literally the opposite of an ICO. So if you had a bad time with ICOs, maybe you'll have a better time with HEX. And we've had 2 security audits and 1 mathematics audit. So I want to publish them, but the problem is I have one amazing dev and some pretty good devs. And my amazing dev is doing amazing dev work right now. And the question is, do I want to pull him off of the amazing dev work to go pretty up the language on the audits to publish them? The answer is no. I'd rather get to market and then publish, incomplete audits, not incomplete, but just ugly, right? And then, when he's got time, like maybe a week after, clean them up for like public consumption. Like in an ideal world, we would have just had extra brain power to do everything. But like, I already know the audits are done finding any bugs that could possibly be found. And so I'm already as secure in the security of the thing I could possibly be. And so now the only actual value of the audits is marketing value. Not that many people even ask me for them, right? So I could like send you the mathematics audit. I could send you the one of the two audits that's not under NDA, but no one even asked for them. So it's like, okay, well, since I know it's not going to find any more bugs anyway, let's just go to market, right? And then I'll publish the half-done audits that aren't under NDA, and then might be able to get those out before launch, maybe.
Do you envision people building applications on HEX?
I do. I've already had developers reach out to me today telling me what they wanted to build on top of HEX.
Interesting.
So people want to wrap the HEX in other things so that the staked HEX could become tradable. They want, I told the guy, look, you should probably do margin too, because there's money in margin, to slap margin on there somehow.
I'm interested in looking. Is there stuff on the website? I'm interested actually looking at that myself.
Sure. Well, I mean, you can go to hex.win/tech spec, or actually, techspecs.html, and it's going to show you the code. And if you want like the bleeding edge, like most current code, you should be on the GitLab, not GitHub. We don't use GitHub for dev. We use GitLab.
Okay.
We do have a GitHub, but it just sits there. In the description it says we don't use GitHub, we use GitLab. And then I can add you to the repository, and then you could build the contract and deploy it on Ganache, and run functions against it and build stuff on top of it. And we also have a layman's guide that explains the contract to a developer very easily. So if you go to hex.win, in the menu bar there, there's a guide that tells you how to read the contract and how to call functions and do all this stuff, right? It's very technical. It's the closest thing we have to documentation that's not comments in the code.
Yeah, I'll have to have a technical counterpart
Sure.
to support me with that. Yep.
I mean, look, it's text, right? So you can open up a text editor and start reading the code. Now, I got to tell you, the code used to be a lot simpler, and then my super dev decided that he wanted to make it more gas efficient. And so now it does really fancy crap to be more gas efficient with packing the maximum amount of data and the smallest amount of allocation of storage. And so it uses a cache system where it will like load data into cache because it's cheaper to do that. And then it'll only write data to storage if it needs to. But if it notices that the cache is equal to what would have been written, then it just doesn't write anything. It just leaves the cache die. So it's gas efficient from using a caching system, which really, from my perspective, made the contract much harder to read. But hey, man, like this is what complexity looks like, right? Like cars used to have carburetors, and now they have fuel injectors and computers, and they start every day. Back when they had carburetors, they didn't start sometimes. You had to fight it. So complexity can give you efficiency, right? So we have a more efficient contract due to some complexity in the storage using a caching system, and other places too. So we also, packed the events into their smallest possible arrays. So there's a lot of packing for data storage efficiency, because every time someone calls a contract, it's going to cost some gas, and less gas is better, right? It has less impact on the network. It allows the network to have higher throughput. It incurs a lower fee if people aren't mining their own block and they're paying someone else to do it. Then whoever they're paying, they don't have to do as much work. So it's really an impressive contract. I think that you'll like it. It's very well commented. It's very well audited. and there's some cool tricks in there that you don't see in most contracts. Like most contracts aren't optimized to this level, anywhere near, really.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check out the GitLab.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you, man. It's nice to have a chill stream. What the audience really wants is for me to rip the heads off of the people that speak to me. And
Well,
if
can
you
do
guys
that.
want that, if you
Yeah, I
guys
don't
want
care at
that,
all. I have 3 brothers, so there's nothing, and I love roast and comedy. There's nothing you could say that
I
could
believe it.
offend.
I believe it. Everyone in the stream is going to be commenting about my tits. I know it. I know they're big, boys. I know they're big. One
They
day
look
they'll
good
be
on the
small.
camera, though. Yeah.
One day. Yeah, man, I had a good time. If you ever want to see me bite someone's head off, then I need an opinionated person that disagrees with me on stuff, and then I could do that.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. It was
Thanks
good
so
talking
much.
to you, man.
Yeah, you too.
Ciao.
All right, bye.